Thank you, Mr. Facilitator. The Most Honorable Portia Simpson Miller, former Prime Minister of Jamaica, the Honorable Donville Innes, Minister of Industry, International Business, Commerce and Small Business Development, the Honorable Ms. Mia Motley, QC, Leader of the Opposition, Ms. Santia Miller, MP, Senator John Watson, President and Board of Directors of the Small Business Association, Ms. Lynette Holder, CEO, Small Business Association, Mrs. Carol Luther Jean-Marie, CEO for Citizens Bank, members of the Leacock family, specially invited guests, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. We at Sagicor are very pleased to partner with the Small Business Association for this year's Sagicor Leo Leacock Memorial Lecture. I can think of no better place to address the topic of this year's lecture, exploring a new paradigm for the survival of SMEs, than here at the Errol Barr Center for Creative Imagination, because it will take a combination of independent thought and creativity to chart the path forward. This evening I commend the SBA. For over 30 years, the organization has been at the forefront of pushing for and creating an environment for the micro, small, and medium enterprise sector to not only exist, but to thrive. The global and domestic economic challenges of the last few years would have no doubt made the SBA's work even harder to help the sector remain competitive. Tonight's topic serves as a further indication that the SBA is an organization committed to the success of this sector, because this technological age we are in has catapulted the global collective to a space such that creating a new paradigm for the SMEs is not a choice, but an absolute requirement for their existence. The vital role SMEs play in any economy can't be underscored enough. Locally, they account for almost 47% of national development, acting as a key factor in the areas of employment generation, production, contribution to exports, and equitable distribution of income. According to the CDB, this sector contributes to more than 50% of regional enterprises and over 50% of GDP. A Harvard Business Review article suggested that if an economy promotes its SMEs, it leads to the diversification of the economy, making it less vulnerable to sector-specific shocks, but to realize that their true potential, the SMEs need to restructure their organization and modernize management practices. Despite the significant impact that SMEs are making, there are still a number of constraints hampering the growth of the sector. With limited access to capital, limited market share, and little control over the market and price, to name a few, SMEs are operating in a market where the goalpost is always moving as it relates to inputs. Only adding to these challenges, this makes it critical that the SBA continues to lobby policymakers to create a new legislative framework conducive to the sector's success. This includes making those external factors within their purview limited in order to minimize the negative impact on the SME. To this end, the discussion about a new paradigm for SMEs is critical. As much as there are challenges, there are still new exciting times. These are still new exciting times, and there are opportunities to be had. The internet and the digital economy has opened the door and moved the traditional storefront from the local arena to a global one, creating a whole new way of doing business. It has also created new avenues for financing, with startups looking for financial opportunities through crowdfunding and angel investors, which present themselves as drivers for a new paradigm when we consider new strategies for development. The benefits of these platforms have been experienced in every sector of business, from authors to artists to psychologists to mechanics. Creating this new paradigm for SMEs is not the job of any one entity. The SBA can't do it alone. Government's role in making the environment favorable for the sector to grow by creating legislative policy that is robust and leads to opportunities for innovation, enhanced competitiveness, and export expansion is crucial for advancement of the sector. As a nation, we must move away from the mindset of becoming an employee as the end goal and instead have one that is open to and embraces the entrepreneurial spirit and the desire to own one's own business, to be risk-takers and to be innovators. This shift in thinking has to start from early on in our schools with our young people by offering them the insight showing business ownership as a tangible alternative for the future. As well, provide opportunities for internships with SMEs who have been successful. Financial institutions must look for ways to lend support to SMEs in ways that will make it easier for them to access capital. We at Sagicor understand the travails of developing a framework that creates an environment which leads to sound economic development. 176 years ago, Sagicor opened its doors as a local single-line life insurance company known as the Barbados Mutual Life Insurance Society. Today, Sagicor is a successful, integrated international financial group operating in 23 countries, including the United States, and is listed on the stock exchanges of Barbados, Trinidad and Tobago, and the UK London Stock Exchange. Our journey to compete in the wider global space has not been easy. Spreading our wings at a time when there was little or no institutional framework, we had to create it as we were journeying on it. Our history is a testament to how we have been able to successfully operate in a competitive global environment without concessions, subsidies, or preferential treatment against other entities whose environments were more favorable to their success. Operating as an international entity allowed us to see firsthand the fallout from the 2008 financial crisis and the impact it has had on the region. We have seen the resultant costs when necessary and timely changes have not been made within the communities in which we operate. Economic and social dislocation is evident, but what is also clear is that the world has changed, and so has our geopolitical significance to it. As a nation, we must therefore seek to adhere to the words in our national anthem and truly be the craftsmen of our fate. A thriving SME sector is one way to ensure this. Sagicor is committed to improving the lives of people in the communities in which we operate. And we are pleased to support the SMEs, which we know are critical to the social and economic development of our nation. So now, I have shared with you why Sagicor is here this evening. It gives me great pleasure to introduce our special guest this evening. The Most Honorable Portia L. Simpson Miller made history on March 30th, 2006, when she became Jamaica's 7th and first female Prime Minister, and only the 3rd female head of state in the Caribbean. Throughout her 4 decades of public service, Ms. Simpson Miller has been hailed as a metaphor of hope in the face of adversity. and as a champion of the poor, oppressed, and marginalized in society. Ms. Simpson Miller's ascension to Jamaica's highest political office came after having served for 17 years as a cabinet minister, with portfolios responsibility for several ministries, including labor, social security, sports, community development, tourism, and women's affairs. She served as Jamaica's Prime Minister from March 2006 to September 2007, and again from January 2012 to March 2016. She retired from public life in June of 2017 after serving as leader of the opposition. Mrs. Simpson Miller has a distinguished record of service at the regional and international levels. She served on the Council of Women's World Leaders, the Organization of American States High-Level Inter-American Network on Decentralization, Local Government, and Citizen Participation, the Caribbean Forum of Ministers responsible for decentralization, local government, community development, and citizen participation, the Commonwealth Local Government Forum, the Board of Trustees of CIFAL, an International Training Center for Governmental Authorities in Atlanta, Georgia, and the CARICOM Committee on External Trade. In 2011, she was appointed by the United Nations Secretary General to serve as a member of the Board of Trustees of the United Nations Institute for Training and Research. Mrs. Simpson Miller was the leading architect of Jamaica's master plan for sustainable tourism development, and she also presided over the significant expansion of Jamaica's overseas work program and transformed the National Insurance Scheme into a major component of government's social protection system. She was also instrumental in establishing a labor chair in the University of the West Indies Department of Government. Mrs. Miller has received several local and international awards and accolades, including the International Olympic Committee's World Women and Sports Trophy, the Distinguished Award for Urban Renewal and Community Development from the Mayor of the City of Miami, the Jamaica Bureau of Women's Affairs Award, induction into the International Women's Forum Hall of Fame, and being listed among Times Magazine's 100 most influential persons in the world in 2012. Mrs. Simpson Miller holds an honorary doctorate of Humane Letters honoris causa from the Union Institute and University, and an honorary doctorate of public service from the Northern Caribbean University. I need to take a breath. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming the Most Honorable Portia Simpson Miller.